Hey guys, welcome back to Alliance Tournament 16. I'm Elise Randolph, joined by Black Bar Pirate. We've got CAStabouts in red and Wormhole Poverty Law Foundation in blue. And your eyes do not deceive you. Wormhole Poverty Law Foundation took just 5 ships. That's all they felt they needed. Just a bunch of battleships and a Northrus. What about the CAStabouts?
CAStabouts has brought what's probably a little bit more of a balanced team, bringing 2 battleships, several battle cruisers, and 2 logistics frigates with a bit of tackle and ECM. But it looks like everything's going already, and the Bargest of Wormhole Poverty Law Foundation is webbed down by the CAStabouts Hugin, and they are applying damage to it quite quickly already.
So this Mac from the Wormhole from the blue team is kiting away really fast. He's actually getting incredibly close towards the boundary, but everyone else from his side is essentially just staying still and getting zonked on by this CAStabouts team. It looks like Wormhole Poverty team is trying to kill this Blackbird, but the 2 frigate Lodges from the CAStabouts side are actually keeping it up just fine.
Oh, and the Wormhole Poverty Bargest is now grappled down by looks like the Navy Megathron. So I don't think it has a lot of life left in this world. It's going down quite quickly, and that Macarial has decided to turn around and is now heading back in. So I think that their kiting tactic, they might have actually prevented themselves from getting screened, and they seem to be going down towards the Deacon. So I don't know. I mean, the Bargest is going to die right here, but they might actually be able to kill both of those Logi frigates since they were able to get completely past the entire CAStabouts team.
So the entire CAStabouts team, bar 1 or 2, have a full flight of armor rep bots. So unless these Wormhole Poverty Law Foundation people can get a smart bomb on one of their battleships and shoot it off, these frigates are probably going to rep for quite a while. We see them plinking away at this Blackbird. The Blackbird is getting low for the CAStabout side. Appears to have no successful jams. Obviously, those little jam markers that you see are potential jams. And this Orthrus is actually going down super hard. It got tackled by a Navy Megathron, which you hate to see, and there it goes.
Yeah, and I think the Wormhole Poverty, they've decided actually to kite past, and now they are on the other side of the arena, and CAStabouts is having no damage applied to them, really, besides that Blackbird, who is being able to be held up quite fine just from the 2 Logi frigates. So Orthrus is dead, and now there is not really a whole lot of things that Wormhole Poverty Law can do to them.
Yeah, so CAStabouts are a kind of a funky group in the Alliance Tournament. They all play from the Center for Advanced Studies, an NPC corp in New Eden, and they essentially, this little group of players have played in Syndicate for as long as I've been playing Eve. And you know, they've actually, obviously they don't have the toughest opponent here right now, but they've actually been pretty impressive in the Alliance Tournament in the last 2 or 3 years. They've really stepped up their game. And this setup, it's the 3rd or 4th time we've seen a Hyperion in this match. What do you think about just seeing Hyperions in the Alliance Tournament again?
I feel that, it's as a battleship, it has a lot of self-rep abilities, so they can kind of survive for a decent amount of time, but they actually have a very large amount of potential damage and several mid slots that they can use for utility, so as well as utility high slots. So it's really it's a really good jackknife. It can do a lot of things okay, which I think just because of the way our rules are set up this year, having versatility and flexibility is so much more important than it ever has been before. And it looks like that the Wormhole Poverty Law Foundations, they've kind of gotten on top of the Blackbird, and they're okay. One of them just MJD'd out.
Oh
And
yeah, the Nightmare that was
away.
tackled by this Navy Mega actually MJD'd out. So he's got a local MJD. He wasn't sitting on a beacon, so now he's 100 kilometers away. These CAStabouts teams, they're very close ranged. Even though this Nightmare is still taking a little bit of damage.
Yeah, he just saved himself, though. He MJD'd out at 20% armor. I mean, they don't have... Wormhole Poverty doesn't have any ability to rep, so the Nightmare just... he bought himself quite a bit of time. There's very little damage going on to him now, and they're going to have to... As you can see, CAStabouts, somehow they weren't able to hold him down, and now they're having to burn all the way over towards that Typhoon Fleet issue of Salamari. So for a little bit, Wormhole Poverty has been able to keep some DPS off themselves, but they really need to start applying some to CAStabouts if they want to turn this around in any way.
Yeah, you can see very low applied damage from the CAStabouts side. That's because they're all blaster fit, so they're all very close range fit. The linchpin right now is this Hugin, flown by Red House. He's the one that has to tackle these targets and keep them pinned down long enough for the rest of his team to catch up. It's been actually pretty slow going, a little bit sloppy from this CAStabouts side, and we'll see if this Fleet Typhoon flown by Salamari is going to MJD himself to safety.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering they might, the Nightmare might have been able to self-MJD. He was pretty close to a beacon, but I think regardless, I don't know if this Fleet Typhoon's getting away here. He's pretty pretty well held down.
He does have the IGC skins, or at least he's looking really good while being held down. And I'm not seeing an MJD effect right now, and he's entering structure, so he's a goner.
Yeah,
Technical term, goner. He's down.
technically dead.
Wormhole Poverty Law Foundation just with a Mac and a Nightmare, both of whom are webbed by this Hugin, keeping them nice and slow for the rest of the CAStabouts team to charge in and get some tackle here.
And they are doing that. They're actually burning straight towards that Nightmare right now. You can see all the damage drones are heading out. They're all moving straight towards them. And actually, the Macarial just MJD'd away. Sorry,
There we go.
Macarial,
Yeah.
but he's free again, too. So I'm wondering if the only reason that Fleet Typhoon didn't MJD is because he was actually facing towards the Edge of Glory and he was trying to not kill himself. So
All right, so this Nightmare, which had MJD'd to safety earlier in the match, has completely regened his shield. He's got a little bit of an shield rep going on, but he managed to motor all the way back in towards the center of the arena. He after burned 100 kilometers to get back in, probably regretting that decision right now, as he finds himself the target of the entire CAStabouts squad, and he is unable to apply that much of his damage. CAStabouts have this massive defense bar that's passive EHP, so it's not really active, but you can see how huge it is compared to what Wormhole Poverty Law Foundation has. Foregone conclusion pretty much as this Nightmare. He's not going to get another MJD off, though it looks like he might be trying.
yeah, I really don't think he's got a chance now. They're done. And the Macarial is just happily kiting around the arena and doesn't have a care in the world right now.
Yeah, I'm watching this Navy Mega that's just like kind of zooming by, overshooting his target. He's a full 15 kilometers away from the Nightmare. He just flew right past him. A little bit of execution misplays, but it's not mattering for the CAStabouts. They're going to get a clean sweep, though perhaps if they faced a full team and not just half a team, they might have been a little bit more hard pressed.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Macarial, and I think that not only is he orbiting the beacon at 70, I think he's also not shooting at all. Okay, he just started firing again as he got close. It looks like he's autocannon fit, so for the range and the speed that he's kiting, I don't think he's going to be doing very much from the range that he was at.
He might be able to try MJDing again, though he's pointing the wrong direction. If he MJDs at this angle, I'm pretty sure he's out of the arena, but he may set a new land speed record for going out of the arena. He is trying his hardest right now. He's at 106 kilometers. The Hugin has webbed him, trying to stop him from going out of the arena, but he's not webbing him enough. This Mac is definitely going to hit the edge of the arena. He says
he's turning. He might be trying to bait them.
Oh, this is the play right here. You sit at the edge and you wait for the other blaster team to kind of rush in. We already saw the Navy Mega from the CAStabouts side overshot his first target. So now this guy Red Hand in the Mac, he noticed that too. He says, you know what, I'm going to force them all to overshoot me and boundary violate, and I'm going to win this for my team. So props to him, sitting at 112 from the arena.
Demos is burning in very fast, and he hasn't started slowing down just yet. So, okay, Demos is playing it very, very safely. And it looks like he's cutting his speed a little bit, just to make sure that he does not boundary violate.
That's no fun.
Oh, maybe not.
All right, he's got a pretty tight over. The Demos is at 112. It looks like the Mac pulled in just a little bit from the edge of the arena, so unfortunately he's not going to be going anywhere. Let's see if he tries to initiate an MJD, just to just stunt on the CAStabouts team, because his team lost. There he goes. He initiated an MJD. I think no, he's pointing correctly. He's gonna live.
Yeah, he's gonna barely live here.
Yeah, so he's gonna just stunt on these people and show what the potential that his team had, right? The potential is just to kite around, and it actually would have worked had it not been kind of garbage.
Well,
no offense to the Wormhole Poverty Law Foundation team.
Even then, I mean, having a Hugin too, like the ability to kite away from long range webs like that is just really, really tough. So they did pilot individually very well, but I don't think they piloted very well together as a team.
Yeah, so this Mac is kind of showing that he's a little bit better, and also showing the flaw of this CAStabouts team. They don't have a single, as far as I can tell, Warp Scrambler. The Warp Scrambler is what prevents the MJD beacons and what prevents the MJD local effects as well. So this isn't going to be a clean sweep for the CAStabouts, but they're going to be quite happy. I believe they were the underdog coming into this match. Most people had picked the Wormhole Poverty Law Foundation group. Not sure exactly why. This is, I believe, their first year in the tournament, and CAStabouts have been doing this for quite some time.
Yeah, CAStabouts definitely has a tournament pedigree. It's maybe not necessarily one of the stellar ones that we always talk about, but it looks like they're going to be moving on in the tournament, winning 77-0.
All right, and with that, the match is over. CAStabouts win this one, and we're going to send it back to Ithaca and the boys in the studio.
Hi guys, welcome back there. That was the Wormhole Poverty Law Foundation, too poor to afford a full-strength team, bringing just five good men in an underpointed comp there, undermanned comp there, but making the full points. They did really good job not dying immediately with an understrength team, which is quite impressive. They're almost as good as XIX running away. But I mean, what do you have to say about the understrength teams, Laz?
I mean, if you've looked at the tournament so far, I'm pretty sure every single team that has fielded less numbers than their actual max capacity has lost so far this tournament. And then that just speaks volumes to what the actual full amount of ships and utility you get from the extra mid slots, low slots, tackle, etc., actually brings to the field. So even if you have to downgrade a certain ship to bring a 1-point frigate or like a 1-point Synesis or something like, you have that utility from that ship.
So what do you think, Jin? Is there any real good reason to bring an understrength team when you could bring the full team, or is it just something you should just never do unless you have no other option?
There's absolutely been teams that have utilised undermanned comps in the past. We've definitely seen Tinkers specifically use that historically, because that means that you don't have those squishy 1 or 2 point targets like the frigates that can just be volleyed off. It ensures that you can keep all your points in one big survivable package. So that's the only real reason you'd want to do it. If you had such a strong tank that you weren't worried about losing anyone, that you are more worried about losing someone than you are about having that extra utility to trade back and forth.
Yeah, it's also worth mentioning that sometimes teams that can't get enough people at the last minute just either don't show up or pull out of the tournament completely. If that was the case, that these guys didn't have enough people, then we definitely salute them for coming along and showing up, because I've seen it before where teams they can't bring the numbers, so they just give up and they don't even try. But coming along, even if you couldn't field the full number of people, and giving a good match. And they gave CAStabouts a pretty solid run, although it was never really a position where they were going to win. They didn't just roll over and die. They played the match to win, and then just didn't, which is a real shame. But good job at least showing up. Now, we actually have a graph that we can show you, and this one is sponsored by the local Pride Festival, which is on here in Nottingham today. Outside our studio right now, there's parades, there's stalls, there's all sorts of crazy stuff going on out there. So this graph of flagship picks for the tournament is sponsored by Nottingham Pride. So this is not unsurprising. That's a huge amount of Leshaks, more than 50% of teams choosing to pick a Leshak, and we've talked about that quite a lot, about how good the Leshak is. So maybe let's look at some of the other ones. It looks like the Rattlesnake is the second most favorited one here, if I'm reading the colours correctly.
Scorpion Navy issue.
Scorpion Navy issue. Probably worth pointing out that I am partially colourblind, so this is a very difficult graph. So why don't you talk us through this a little bit, Elise?
Where's Elise?
I
I got you. Yeah, so the Scorpion Navy issue, we talked about earlier in the show, that the Scorpion Navy issue is able to project damage really well with cruise missiles, and bringing it as a flagship just enhances that DPS. It already has a big tank on it, and then being able to fit the officer mods for that as well, or the vessel mods, definitely help out. In the previous tournaments, you saw a lot of Balgorns, which you see some actually picked this year, but with the change to the rules, you can no longer bring officer newts, and especially officer webs, which is the big point, because I think with boosts it was out to like 78k.
Yeah, around 65 or so.
yeah.
Like, it was a pretty solid advantage to have to be able to web a ship, no matter where they started in the arena with your Balgorn.
Yeah. And so with the change of rules, you don't see as many Balgorns, which I'm excited for just because we see more DPS comps.
I'm just happy to see that our graphs reflect the current state of EVE Online politics with one big blue donut in the in the focus.
Wow. Bringing it real, Jin Tan. Who do you fly with again?
A small alliance up in the north. Don't worry about us. Red Noise. You might have heard of us.
So, coming up next, the next match is going to be the Caldari role players who knocked Hydra down to the losers bracket on match 1 of their run last year, Templis Calciv versus Novak. Jin, tell me a little bit about what happened last year with Templis and what we can maybe expect from them.
Yeah, Templis are renowned as effectively the giant slayers of the past AT. They came through with a shock performance and upset one of the top contenders for the previous Alliance tournament in their first round. And this was something that was completely unexpected. People didn't really have any high hopes for Templis. But they brought, if I remember correctly, they fought the original version of the Octodad comp before it had been properly refined by the team involved. And that just led to them being crushed by a regular composition that was able to handle that amount of DPS. It wasn't as all-in as later iterations.
Yeah, and Novak, what do you know about them, Laz?
They were in previous tournaments. They typically take one game before losing in their past tournament experiences, so we can hopefully see them take one game today, but I definitely think Templis has them beat when it comes to experience.
Yeah, I mean, just singling out individual members sometimes. In Templis, Damasus Kadesh, he's one of their players. He was one of the Amar Champion House champions, so Lord Damasus Kadesh, if we're being politically correct. And he was also part of the team at FanFest this year, which won the Caldari Corporation Cup, which we here at EVNT hosted over there, taking home pretty dope AF prizes. I believe there was a 1080 graphics card, which is pretty cool. But speaking of prizes, make sure you're predicting all those matches, because you too can win prizes. It's not quite a 1080, but 500 Plex is a little bit of a way to a 1080. Little bit of a way. Yeah.
A little bit.
But it's not nothing. So make sure you go on, you predict who you think is going to win in the matches, and if you're correct, your name gets thrown out of a hat, and you could win 500 new Plex. That's pretty great. Pretty great. So, Templis Calciv versus No Vacancies. I think that, despite what you said about them going one game then losing, I think that Templis will definitely have this. I mean, they've got a flagship, Leshak.
No Vacancy is the one that goes one game and lose.
Yes, yeah, that's why I think that Templis will win, though. It won't be this time that Novak will go one game and lose. They're going to just, unfortunately, lose. Templis bringing a Leshak flagship, as the Blue Donut, most of them are. No Vacancies not bringing a flagship. Jintan, what do you make about teams that haven't submitted a flagship?
I think they're probably not paying as much attention to the tournament as maybe they should. I think that would be a fair assumption to make, but you never know.
So if you had to pick one, are you going to go for Novak and there are no flagship?
No, I not only do I think Templis is going to win, I want Templis to win. Come on, we all want to see in the next round, tomorrow, I think it's tomorrow, PL versus Templis. We all want to see that match. That would be super juicy.
Yeah, looking forward. There's a couple of really good matches that have potential to see tomorrow. That being one of them, Templis versus PL. I would love to see a team like Templis just repeating what they did last year and knocking one of the tournament favourites like Pandemic Legion, Mr. Elise Randolph's team here, down into the losers bracket alongside a couple of big teams already. I think the main upset so far has definitely been Barcode getting knocked down. I don't think any of us expected to see that one happen as comfortably as it did as well.
To be fair, a lot of us didn't see Barcode and immediately understand who they were, but once we saw some of those pilots on grid, that made a lot of headlines. Seeing them knocked out by Samurai Sold Out, who's one of my favourite Dark Horses team to go probably top 4 this time.
Yeah, they did really well. They beat Barcode pretty soundly.
Yeah.
So you reckon Samurai sold out top 4?
Top 4, top 8. I think they'll be in the contention for that. They've always been a team I've loved watching.
Cool. That's some solid praise coming from Jintan over there for Samurai sold out. So I'm backing Templars. You're backing Templars. Templars as well. 3 for 3. Now I do believe that someone somewhere in this building is tracking all of the guests and analysts, and hopefully not mine, predictions that we're making on stream. And they're going to make a leaderboard, and we're going to find out. I mean, some people want to know who's best, but more importantly, we all want to know who's the worst. This is why I hope that they're not tracking mine, although I am slightly happy that Jintan is here because traditionally he loses all of these things, so this is good for everyone else involved.
I like to choose the interesting opinion, not necessarily the right one.
Okay, so we're going to hand over to our boys in the booth for the match.